Ladies and gentlemen, Trump-backed Mike Carey wins GOP special election primary. Really quickly, if you look at Trump-backed candidates are crushing it in GOP primaries. This is 2018, July 25th, 2018. The same will happen in 2022. Trump Republicans will take over the House. It's just, I'm not swimming upstream or saying anything that is outlandish. That's history, okay? The opposition party usually almost always does extremely well. And the party in the Oval Office loses a great many seats in Congress during the first midterms. That's just history. You can look in 2018, Trump-backed candidates are crushing it in GOP primaries. When you agree with Trump, it can pay dividends in a big way. So this is not new. He still has a 90% approval rating within the Republican Party. The article will be below. Trump-backed Carey wins GOP nod in Ohio special election. The former president did a tele-rally for the Republican primary winner just before Tuesday's vote. So Mike Carey has won the Republican primary for a vacant House seat south of Columbus, vaulting to the top of a crowded special election field with support from former President Donald Trump. Carey's win affirms Trump's ability to influence Republican primaries with endorsements even while out of office during the Biden administration. There's nobody that comes close within the Republican Party. There's nobody close. If President Trump says I'm no longer going to be in politics, I wouldn't care about any Republican other than Ron DeSantis and Rand Paul. And I like Ron Johnson, but other than a handful of Republicans, I wouldn't care. I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I used to be the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. There's a direct line between Bernie Sanders of 2016, not the one who had to unendorse. I have to unendorse a certain $20 million venture capital pundit because, they told me to unendorse him. Not that type, who, by the way, is facing a discrimination case. Not that Bernie from last year, who was cheated also. It cheated him in 2 primaries in a row. But I like President Trump for a number of reasons, primarily because he fights a very corrupt system. He's actually the antithesis of an authoritarian and despot. You have to be completely ignorant about politics and world history to think that this man, this orange monster, this orange Julius Caesar, is a despot or an authoritarian. The opposite is true. You don't sign prison reform legislation and negotiate a deal to bring Americans home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. You don't oppose the Lincoln Project people and Bill Kristol, the people who served as the ideological foundation for the Bush administration, who are now embedded within the Democratic Party, who vote alongside Bernie Sanders and the Lincoln Project, vote Democrat. Think about that for a second. Would you think about that for a second? If you've stumbled upon this channel, you're on the left. Do you understand that you're getting played, or that you're playing yourself, or that you're part of a cult, or that you don't care that the Lincoln Project, the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld foreign policy hawks are now voting alongside Democratic socialists for the same political party? Who do you think has more influence? You think maybe people like Bill Kristol and the Lincoln Project have a great deal more influence than Bernie Sanders? They do. In terms of foreign policy, like, if it wasn't for President Trump negotiating a deal to bring Americans home, who knows what Biden would be doing now? By the way, hit subscribe to this channel. Share this segment to my super thanks. If there's somebody that wants to show appreciation or whatever, you don't have to show appreciation, but if somebody enjoys my work, I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding. I'm always swimming upstream, and the analysis I've given on this channel has been pretty accurate, pretty spot on. Sometimes I'll go out on a limb, but I've been telling you for years that Trump-Russia was complete nonsense. We can go on. You can compare my viewpoints to the $20 million venture capital pundits, or the morally superior liberals who, interestingly enough, never protested last summer. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe they're hypocrites. I think I offer a unique perspective. If you'd like to support my work, if you'd like to do so, the super thanks is below next to the share and like buttons. But honestly, the best thing you could do, if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, that's fantastic, or more, the super thanks is below next to the share and like buttons to the right. But honestly, these are tough economic times. The best thing you could do for me, in addition to the super thanks, is just share the segment and hit subscribe. We're almost at 183,000 subs. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been stuck at 182 forever. So tell people about this channel. But ladies and gentlemen, I did a great live stream. We got a fantastic live stream about an hour ago. And you look at what President Trump was able to accomplish, you have to understand, Democrats and media are still obsessed with painting this man as evil incarnate. They can't possibly acknowledge, that 74 million Americans would vote for Trump again. 74 million Americans would vote for President Trump again. Absolutely. And they simply can't acknowledge that. They can't acknowledge that because doing so would force them to realize that they haven't Democrats have not given voters a reason to vote for them other than contempt or disdain for Trump. There is no reason. There is really no reason to vote Democrat. There's no reason. Tell me a policy. Give me a policy that really gets Democratic voters going. The infrastructure bill, according to the Wharton School of Business, by the way, the infrastructure bill would decrease GDP. Decrease GDP. Okay? How are you going to... How are you going to push a bill, okay? How are you going to push a bill that decreases GDP? I'm looking right here, Penn, Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. That'll be below here. GDP, you look, and you have a decrease. GDP decreases by 0.1% in 2050. Okay? GDP decreases by 0.1% in 2050. So if everything works out perfectly, GDP will decrease only by 0.1%. But it's like you push for an infrastructure bill, and it's not even going to give the country a better economy in the long term. What's the point? What is the point of that? Tell me. So that's like, and nobody can really explain how it'll better their lives. That's just one example. Okay? That's just one example. You have so many other examples as well. They focused only on... I'll put the link to the Wharton School of Business below. But they focus on, trying to paint Trump as the mastermind of January. Why didn't they indict him? Why don't they indict him for taxes? Why don't they charge him or indict him for working alongside Russian operatives? Because they made up everything. They literally just made up everything. They don't have anything on Trump. So you ask yourself, well, what did President Trump do to get so many people to vote for him or to back him? Yeah. So you had record low unemployment. You could look at the things he did, like he got a greater percentage of the non-white vote than he did in 2016, and a greater percentage than any Republican candidate in 60 years. And that was because he allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. And there was record low black and Latino unemployment. The economy was great. foreign policy was infinitely better than President Obama, who caused Libya to become a failed state. He even admitted to that. He said it was his worst mistake. Anyway, hit subscribe right now to this channel. Republican Mike Carey wins. And yet another example that Trump runs the Republican Party. Give me your thoughts. To my super thanks. Thank you so very much.